Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Tonight we delve into the abyss, peering into the cold, unforgiving eyes of the unknown. We explore 3 cases, 3 souls forever bound to the scenes of their demise. Turn off the lights, my friends, and prepare to be terrified. Our first tale takes us to a small town with a chilling secret, a secret that has haunted its residents for years. The unsolved murder of Emily Carter, a tragedy that left the town in a state of perpetual unease. Emily was young, full of life, with dreams waiting to be chased. She was the kind of person who lit up a room with her presence. But all that was brutally snatched away one cold November night, a night that would forever change the town's history. Emily had been walking home from her best friend's house, a route she'd taken countless times before, feeling safe in the familiarity of her surroundings. She never made it home. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the community. Her body was found days later at the edge of town by the old dilapidated water tower, a place that would soon become infamous. The police investigated, but the trail ran cold. Despite their best efforts, no clues emerged to point them to the killer. Emily's killer was never found, and the case eventually went cold, leaving the town with more questions than answers. But Emily's story didn't end there. Her presence lingered, a ghostly reminder of the injustice she suffered. Whispers began to circulate around town, whispers of strange occurrences at the old water tower where her body was found. People claimed to see a young woman's silhouette standing at the edge of the woods, her figure barely visible in the moonlight. Some dismissed it as grief-stricken imaginations, but others knew better. They believed Emily's spirit was trying to communicate. They could feel her presence, a cold spot in a warm room, a whisper of her name on the wind, sending chills down their spines. Then came the sightings, more frequent, more intense, as if Emily's spirit was growing more desperate. People passing by the water tower late at night reported seeing Emily, her white dress billowing around her, her eyes filled with sorrow. One night, a group of teenagers decided to investigate the rumors, driven by curiosity and a sense of adventure. Armed with flashlights and a video camera, they ventured out to the old water tower, their hearts pounding with anticipation. They reached the spot where Emily's body had been found, the air growing heavy with an unexplainable tension. And then they saw her. Emily stood there, bathed in the pale moonlight, her eyes burning into their souls, a silent plea for justice. Emily stood there, bathed in the pale moonlight, her eyes burning into their souls, a silent plea for justice. The teenagers froze, their blood turning to ice in their veins, unable to move or speak. Then Emily spoke, her voice a chilling whisper that seemed to echo through the night. "Find him," she hissed. "Find the one who took my life." Her words were a command, a desperate plea for justice. The teenagers scrambled back to their car, the image of Emily's ghostly visage seared into their minds, their hearts racing with fear. The next day, the town was abuzz with the news. Everyone had heard about the ghostly encounter. The police were called in to investigate, but they found no evidence of trespassing, no signs of anyone having been there. But the town knew the truth. They knew that Emily's spirit was still out there, seeking justice. Emily was still out there, her spirit restless, unable to find peace until her killer was brought to justice. And until her killer was found, she would continue to haunt the old water tower, a ghostly guardian of her own tragic story. Our next story takes us to the outskirts of civilization, to an abandoned house shrouded in shadow. This house, long forgotten by time, stands as a silent sentinel to the past. Locals whisper tales of its dark history, stories passed down through generations, of a man who met a gruesome end within its decaying walls. The walls, now crumbling, once echoed with his cries. The man's name was William, a figure shrouded in mystery and intrigue, a recluse who kept to himself. He was a tinkerer, an inventor, always seen working on strange contraptions. Some whispered a mad scientist. Then one stormy night, when the winds howled and the rain lashed against the windows, the silence of the abandoned house was shattered by a blood-curdling scream. A scream that would haunt the memories of those who heard it. The storm raged for days, relentless and unforgiving, cutting off the house from the outside world. Roads were flooded, and the house stood isolated like an island in a sea of chaos. When the skies finally cleared, Revealing a calm after the storm, a group of concerned neighbors cautiously approached the house. Their curiosity mixed with dread. They found the front door ajar, a sight that sent chills down their spines, creaking ominously in the wind. The sound was almost a warning, a sign of the horrors within. Inside, the house was in disarray. Furniture overturned as if a struggle had taken place, papers scattered across the floor. The remnants of William's work lay in tatters. And then they saw him, the sight that would be etched in their minds forever. William lay sprawled on the floor of his workshop, surrounded by his unfinished inventions, his lifeless eyes staring vacantly at the ceiling. A tragic end to a life of solitude and mystery. The police ruled it a break-in gone wrong, a simple explanation for a complex tragedy, but the brutality of the crime left a lingering unease. The townsfolk couldn't shake the feeling that something more sinister was at play. As the weeks turned into months, the house stood as a silent reminder of the past. The abandoned house stood silent. Its silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the life it once held. But the silence wouldn't last forever. The house had more stories to tell. Soon whispers began to circulate throughout the town, whispers that grew louder with each passing day, whispers of strange noises emanating from the abandoned house, noises that couldn't be easily explained. At first, the rumors were dismissed as the overactive imaginations of children, ghost stories to pass the time. But as the sightings persisted, the stories became harder to ignore. Even the most skeptical of townsfolk couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The air was thick with tension. One night, a group of teenagers decided to explore the abandoned house. Their curiosity got the better of them. They crept through the overgrown yard, the tall grass brushing against their legs, their hearts pounding in their chests, each step filled with anticipation and fear. As they approached the house, the air grew colder. They could hear the sound of their own breathing. It was the only sound in the oppressive silence. One of the teenagers reached for the doorknob, his hand trembling slightly. The metal was cold to the touch. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The hinges groaned in protest. The stench of decay hit them like a physical blow. It was overwhelming, almost suffocating. The teenagers fumbled for their flashlights, their hands shaking, their beams dancing across the darkness. Shadows seemed to move with a life of their own. They moved cautiously through the house, every creak of the floorboards making them jump, their footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. The sound seemed to amplify in the stillness. As they rounded a corner, the air grew colder still. They came face to face with him. The sight was both terrifying and mesmerizing. The phantom stood at the end of the hallway, his presence undeniable, his eyes glowing an eerie red in the darkness. It was a sight that would haunt their dreams. The teenagers turned and ran, their fear driving them forward, their screams echoing through the empty house. The phantom's presence was now a part of their reality. Our final tale leads us to the old bridge, a relic of a bygone era, shrouded in mystery and whispers of the past. The bridge stands as a silent sentinel, forever haunted by the memory of a life tragically cut short, a life that still lingers in the shadows. The story goes that many years ago, a young woman named Sarah met her untimely demise on that very bridge, her dreams and hopes vanishing into the night. No one knows for sure what happened that fateful night, the details lost to time and speculation. Some say it was a tragic accident, others whisper of foul play, each version adding to the bridge's eerie legend. Whatever the truth may be, Sarah's spirit never left the bridge, her presence felt by those who dare to cross it. Locals would tell stories of seeing a young woman in a white dress, standing on the bridge late at night, her figure illuminated by the moonlight. Some claimed to hear her mournful cries echoing through the fog, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. Cars passing over the bridge would experience sudden electrical malfunctions, their headlights flickering as if in response to an unseen force. One particularly foggy night, a young man named David was driving home from a late shift at work, unaware of the chilling encounter that awaited him. He had heard the stories about the haunted bridge, but he had always dismissed them as local superstition, tales meant to scare children. As he approached the bridge, a thick fog rolled in, enveloping the road in an eerie silence, the world around him fading into a ghostly white. David could barely see a few feet in front of his car, the dense fog swallowing the light from his headlights. He slowed down, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, his heart beginning to race. As he drove onto the bridge, he felt a sudden chill run down his spine, a cold that seemed to seep into his very bones. The air grew heavy as if a weight had settled on his chest, making it hard to breathe. He could have sworn he heard a woman's voice whispering his name, a soft, haunting call that sent a jolt of fear through him. He glanced nervously in his rearview mirror, but there was nothing there, only the impenetrable fog. Suddenly his headlights flickered and died, plunging him into darkness, the bridge disappearing from view. He slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding in his chest, fear gripping him tightly. As he raised his phone to illuminate the road ahead, he gasped in horror, his breath catching in his throat. Standing in the middle of the bridge was the ghostly figure of a young woman, her eyes filled with sorrow. David threw his car into reverse, his tires screeching against the pavement, desperate to escape. From that day forward, David never went near the old bridge again, the memory of that night forever etched in his mind. The veil between our world and the next can be thin, my friends. Tonight we've explored 3 such echoes. 3 souls forever bound to the places their lives were taken. Their stories serve as chilling reminders that some wounds run deeper than we can imagine. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any stories of your own, be sure to share them in the comments below. Until next time, my friends, stay safe and stay scared.